How do you know when you've officially stopped trusting your own judgment? It's a little tricky to identify because it's not a sudden crash. It's a slow erosion. You start consuming informational content, then move on to hiring experts to tell you the things you already know. Before you know it, you start looking for permission to run the business you already own. If you're revving your engine, but the wheels aren't moving, you aren't stuck. You're consistently overriding your own judgment. Here are 10 signs that this very thing is happening in your business. If you recognize at least 3 of these, you aren't dealing with a strategy problem. You're dealing with an authority problem. Let's look at the evidence. Sign number 1, the permission loop. You've done the research. You made the decision. You know which CRM or system fits your business and time constraints. But instead of clicking buy, you go poll a Facebook group or ask a coach who doesn't understand your workflow. And now, almost magically, you're back at the beginning of your decision process. Secretly, you probably weren't looking for information. Maybe you were looking for someone else to blame if it all goes wrong. Not because you made the wrong choice, but because your decision didn't feel safe enough to trust. Sign number 2, the acquiesce. You hire someone who talks a big game about AI or the new way of doing things. Deep down, you know the strategy is a bad fit for your business model. But you stay quiet in the meeting. And before you realize it, you've handed the keys to the new hire, an outside specialist. Not because they're more qualified, but because they sound more certain than you feel. Sign number 3, the hamster wheel to nowhere. You're working 12-hour days on strategic tasks that never actually move the needle. You're hiding in the busy work because it feels safer than making the one high-stakes decision that actually matters. You know it's not safer, but the fear of not knowing whether or not you'll make the right decision has you stuck. Sign number 4, the Frankenstein business model. You spent months building a cohesive strategy, but then you hear an expert on a podcast talk about a new funnel or a lead gen secret. Even though it clashes with your entire business model, you try to bolt it onto your business anyway, forcing a best practice that feels wrong and overriding your judgment in favor of the trend that says it works. Sign number 5, the death by committee stall. You have a clear vision for a project, but you won't greenlight it until you've run the idea past your team, your spouse, and maybe even your neighbor. If you need a consensus before you take a step, you aren't leading. You're waiting for enough people to agree with you so that if it fails, you don't have to own the judgment call. Sign number 6, the hypercorrection. You made one bad call 6 months ago. maybe a bad hire or a missed deadline. And now you've put a governor on your own engine. You've created so many redundant checks and balances that you've effectively paralyzed your own ability to move. By second guessing your every move, you're breaking momentum and decision confidence over a past mistake. Sign number 7, the data shield. You're hiding behind spreadsheets and metrics to avoid making a move that your instincts have already confirmed. Data is a tool, but for you, it's become a shield. You keep looking for one more data point to prove you're right because you don't trust yourself enough to just be right. Sign number 8, the information buffet. You're suffering from the expertise paradox. You've gathered so much data and watched so many how-to videos that you can now see 50 different ways your next move could fail. So instead of choosing a direction, you go back to the buffet for one more piece of information. You tell yourself you're being diligent, but you're actually using research as a high-end form of procrastination. You aren't looking for a strategy. You're looking for a guarantee that doesn't exist. Sign number 9, the polished pivot. You're changing your brand voice or your offer because a coach told you it's more marketable, even though it feels like you're wearing a suit that's 3 sizes too small. You're trading your authenticity for polish, and you wonder why you feel like an imposter in your own business. Sign number 10, the chronic almost. You're 90% done with 10 different things. You stop right at the finish line every time because the final 10% is where your judgment is tested. By not finishing, you never have to face the result. You're choosing safety of the almost over the risk of being the final authority. Here's the point, and most people won't say it out loud. Being stuck isn't always about the lack of information. It's about the slow, quiet erosion of your own authority. Every time you felt that gut check, the feeling when you know when you're nowhere, and you choose to follow a proven framework instead, you taught yourself that you aren't the one in charge. You've turned yourself into an employee in the business you built. This doesn't mean you're confused. It means you're out of alignment. Being stuck isn't always about knowing what to do. Sometimes it's about not trusting the person who has to do it. And that person is you. Most of us don't realize how much confidence we're losing in these overrides until we actually stop and look at the patterns. If this hits closer to home than you expected, don't just click to the next video. I put together the decision reset assessment specifically to help you see where these overrides are happening right there in black and white. It's not a test, it's a mirror. Take a few minutes to see what's actually going on underneath the hood of your business. The link is in the description below.